Shop Amanda Rach Lee recently released their blank dotted notebooks, so I'm here to review it for you guys today. I'm going to tell you my likes, my dislikes, what pens it withholds, if it withholds paint, so let's go. Hey people, I'm Temi if you're new here, and yeah, let's go with the review. So this is the pretty dotted notebooks. So I was kindly gifted this from Shop Amanda Rach Lee and I'm so grateful to receive it. This review isn't sponsored, this video isn't sponsored. I decided to do this video because I asked on my Instagram and you guys said you wanted a review. So I've also got questions that I was asked on my Instagram, so I'll answer them in this video as well. But it feels great to have been reached out by this company because me seeing Amanda's spreads inspired me to start bullet journaling. So to be recognized feels absolutely amazing. But of course, you only hear my honest thoughts in this video. I also did a review of the doodle planner, so if you want to see that video, I'll link it down below. This dotted notebook has the exact same pattern on the cover, but the only difference is that it's dotted on the inside, so it doesn't have any of Amanda's designs, and this is perfect if you like to bullet journal for yourself. And yes, here is the notebook. I just love this color. So I chose this tan brown color and honestly, I just feel like it fits my aesthetic so much. I just love it, love it, love it. It has the gold foil doodles all over the cover. So depending on what color you choose depends on if it's gold or silver. The dotted notebooks come in the exact same 5 colors that the doodle planners came in. They also released washi tape in this collection, so they've got a few different types of washi tapes, some inspired by book covers, some more neutral set. So there's a lot to choose from basically. So yeah, back to this dotted notebook. I just think this color is stunning. The cover, I love all the doodles all around the cover and the artwork is obviously beautiful. It has the same artwork on the back of the cover as well. And someone asked me what my favorite doodle on the front is, and it might have to be that lavender doodle. I just think, oh, it's so beautiful and the way the gold shines, ooh, love it. So opening the planner, you've got the same doodles on the inside and you've got a space where you can write your name. This notebook has 160 dotted pages and it's actually numbered. So that's not something I've seen in a while, but that's really interesting if that's something that you're interested in, especially if you want to have an index kind of page in your bullet journal. It's not something I personally need or include, but it's worth mentioning if it's something that's important to you. The notebook cover is vegan leather with metallic foil embossments. Vegan leather is great because it means it doesn't get dirty easily. You can easily wipe clean. Okay, so the bullet journal has an elastic covering. It has a pen loop. And this pen loop, I think, is a much better size. I remember from the doodle planner, I thought the pen loop was too big. So yeah, this pen loop is a much better size for me. It also has a back pocket. I personally don't have a lot of need for a back pocket, but if you want to keep extra notes or random post-it notes, you definitely can. The pages in the bullet journal are a stark white. It's got a very cool temperature, and this is what I prefer for my bullet journal notebooks. And the dots are a medium grey. Finally, it's got 2 bookmarks. And now let's talk about the price. So these notebooks retail for $26. And I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I'm very shocked. I've previously spent a lot more on 160 GSM notebooks, so I think this is fantastic. Let me know if you want to see a comparison video with other 160 GSM notebooks that I have. Leave a comment if that's something you want to see. It's also worth mentioning that the notebooks only come in the A5 size presently. For me, that's fantastic because that's the size I use, but if you like other sizes such as B5, then this might be an issue. Someone on my Instagram also asked if it lays flat, and I think with a little bit of training, it does lay flat. Of course, there might be some issues with the binding closer to the ends of the book, but this is expected. This is basically what I have with my other bullet journal notebooks. Now for a pen test. I'm doing this right at the back of the book. It's always really interesting to do a pen test because it's interesting to see what materials might ghost or might bleed through. I'm using a lot of pens that many people in the bullet journal community use or would be curious about using. So yeah, let's go. First, we've got the Staedtler Tri-Plus Fine Liner. This is my everyday bullet journal pen. It's my absolute favorite to use. Then we've got the Faber-Castell Pitt pens. I use this for a lot of outlines for some of the art I have in my journal. We've got the Tombow Fudodosuke brush pen, and I love this pen. I don't use it half as much as I should because it's really good. We've got the Acrylic Pens by Archer and Olive, and I love how black the blacks of these pens are. We've got the Super Japanese material pen. That is my all-time favorite calligraphy pen. I just love, love, love it. By the way, all the supplies I mentioned and all the supplies I've used in this video are linked below. Now I've got the Tombow Brush Pen, very popular in the bullet journaling space. So I've just done this quick outline, and I've also tried to shade the inside so that you can see if there's any ghosting if you go over the same area with the pen. Next, I've got the Stabilo highlighter, and I use this for some of the coloring I do in my journal. The Stabilo highlighter is also really important to check because it tends to ghost on many notebooks. I've also gone over some of the area a few times so that you can see how many layers of the same color acts. Next, I've got this cheap brush pen. It doesn't even have a brand name, but it's a dupe to the Tombow, and I did a whole video reviewing it. So if the Tombows are too expensive for you, definitely check out that video because those pens performed great. Then I've got the Stabilo Pen 68, and again I tried to go over the same area just to see if layering makes it ghost. Then I've got the Crayola Super Tips. So these pens were my entry into the bullet journaling space. I still think they are fantastic. I use them for a lot of the coloring I do. And I did the same thing of layering to see if that affects ghosting. Next, I've got the Pentel Color Pen Fine Point, and this pen has a tendency to ghost a lot. I don't use it that often, but I did quite a few layers so that we can really test. And finally, I've got the Sharpie. So this is not something I use in my bullet journal at all, but I think it'll be interesting to see how this performs on this 160 GSM paper. And yes, here are all the pens I've tested today. They are great pens, so let's see if they ghost. On first impressions, you can see that the only ghosting is with the Sharpie. And that was very expected, to be very honest. The Sharpies just ghost through everything. But just looking a few times, I can see that there's absolutely no ghosting, even if I did layering with some of the other pens, and that is very encouraging. Now I'm going to do a paint test. I don't use paint in my journals that often, but this is one of the questions I was asked on Instagram, so I thought I would just test some watercolor paints. First, I'm just using normal watercolor paint. And yeah, I'm just trying to create a wash with this watercolor paint. So I've got a lot of product at the top of this rectangle, and then I'm feathering with a lot of water towards the bottom to see how using watercolor with different amounts of water might be in this journal. Next, I'm using this metallic watercolor I've got. I'm using this copper kind of color. It's not even copper. It's like a reddish, goldish. I don't know what it is. But I'm doing the exact same thing of using much more pigment at the top and then adding a lot of water to see if that makes it ghost, bleed, crinkle. We'll see what it does. Next, I thought it would also be good to test out stamps. So if you're familiar with my channel, you know that I use stamps in my journal quite often, and I'm just gonna test to see if the ink bleeds through. This is quite an important test for me because I did notice that some stamp inks bleed through some journals, and I struggled so much getting these out. My nails were a nuisance. And yes, that's the end of the paint test, just testing to see if the paints are dry. And now let's see how they performed. So on first impressions, I can see a little bit of crinkling on the metallic watercolor side. You can see where I used a lot of water, and that's where you get a little bit of crinkling on the page. Overall, it's quite minimal, to be very honest, which shows that this journal withstands watercolor, and depending on how much water you use, depends on if the page wants to crinkle or not. So take from that what you will. I think they performed great. And now for my final thoughts. I think these notebooks are awesome. Some of the benefits include the amazing 160 GSM paper, which allows you to use a variety of media. As I've shown in this video, it clearly withstands many different pens and paints. The price point is amazing. I'm not going to lie to you, I was very shocked to see only $26 for this notebook. And it's got a lot of features that I really appreciate in a bullet journal. So I think Amanda and the team have done a great job at putting this journal together at the price point. And I'm not going to lie to you, I can't really think of many disadvantages. One would be maybe if you wanted an index, since they provided page numbers, it kind of relates to having an index at the front, but you can easily make that yourself. And another is they only provide A5 notebooks. But for a first launch, that's understandable because A5 is probably the most popular bullet journal size. One last thing would be, for me, I prefer a more minimal cover, so I think if it had just one doodle in the middle, I would really appreciate that. But I understand why this just takes after the doodle planner with all the doodles all over, and I'm sure you guys love it with all these doodles as well. But overall, I think they have aced it. I think this is a great dotted notebook if you want to do bullet journaling. Honestly guys, I am impressed. But I'd love to know what you think, so let me know what you think down in the comment section below. Please like the video, please subscribe, and check out any of these videos. I will see you on my next video. Goodbye.